You didn't get it yet. We're going to get it in about 10 minutes. All right, so what we need to finish up before we get going on this lab is just the rest of our taxonomy notes. We started yesterday going over our various groups, talking about the different kingdoms, going over some sort of general characteristics of them. And today we'll continue on with that. And where we left off, we had talked about each of the domains. Then we had discussed the various kingdoms. And then we're going into some more detail now on the animal kingdom. So we went from kingdom down to the various phyla. And in some cases, we'll go a little bit further. But for right now, where we left off was on the phylum Mollusca, the mollusks. Okay.
You just added A, like Animalia, Mollusca?
Yeah, I mean, so the terms that you have in your packet, you know, they have Latin names, Animalia, Plantae, Mollusca, or sometimes you sort of talk about them using the English words, mollusks, arthropods, but yeah, most of them just have an A.
Is arthropod like
Arthropoda. So, kingdom Animalia, phylum Mollusca, the mollusks. So mollusks are soft-bodied, and there's quite a wide variety of mollusks. They often have a shell, but not always, and they have a shell of calcium. Now, it's not really considered, though, an exoskeleton. Okay, so it's sort of different from an arthropod exoskeleton. But they have a calcium shell oftentimes. The mollusks have bilateral symmetry, two-part symmetry. You know, if you draw a line down the middle, you can split it into two equal halves. Most of them have gills for breathing in the water. Most of these are aquatic, but not all of them. They have an open circulatory system, which means their blood is not contained within vessels, but sort of in a cavity within its body. So they have an open, that's called an open circulatory system, versus other types of animals that have a closed circulatory system where blood travels through vessels. Examples of mollusks are a squid, octopus, slugs, clams, snails, things that I'm sure you are familiar with, that you've seen before, some of which we consider food. Yeah.
All of those are food.
Oh, yeah, you could eat all those. So, you know, squid,
Slugs are cute.
octopus,
Like, if you ever hold a slug, like,
slug,
it's fun to hold.
clams, and other. The clams are called bivalves. There's clams, there's oysters, scallops, mussels.
Clams are good. And so are snails.
Oh.
And snails.
Yeah.
No, we have
All right, so arthropods. Arthropods are a large category, the largest of the animal groups in terms of number of species. Arthropods have an exoskeleton made of a substance called chitin. They have bilateral symmetry. Because they have this exoskeleton, they have jointed appendages, which allows for movement at the joints. They also have an open circulatory system. And there's 5 classes of arthropods. And you're familiar, I'm sure, with all of these. Okay? There's the insects, the largest of the arthropod classes. There are the arachnids.
spiders.
There are the crustaceans. And then centipedes and millipedes. So insects include a huge variety. Very, very diverse class. Flies and grasshoppers and crickets and bees and wasps and all these sorts of things are insects. They have 6 legs. They have 3 body sections. Arachnids include things like scorpions, ticks, spiders. They have 2 body segments.
Basically everything we hate.
They have 8 legs. Crustaceans have 10 legs. Okay? Lobsters, crayfish, crabs. Then we have the centipedes and millipedes. Difference So they don't have 100 or 1,000 legs. That's not, although the prefixes mean 100 and 1,000, that's not true. Centipedes have one pair of legs per segment, per body segment. You'll see they have a leg on each side of each segment. Millipedes, however, have 2 legs on each body segment.
So what if centipede had 50 segments?
Then it would, but it's not a defining characteristic.
Mr. Durov,
Yes.
what's an open circulatory system?
An open circulatory system is a circulatory system that the blood is not enclosed in vessels, like we just talked about just several seconds ago, Cormac. Mr. Short-term memory. All right, kingdom Animalia. Phylum Echinodermata, the echinoderms. Okay, echinoderms. The term means spiny skin. Many of these have radial symmetry. Most of them are sessile or move very slowly. Okay. Some have, they do move. Some have bilateral symmetry as larvae, and then radial symmetry as an adult. They may reproduce sexually or asexually. Examples: the sand dollar, sea star,
Sea urchins are disgusting.
sea urchins. Yeah, these are things. Many of them are filter feeders. They're aquatic mostly, and you know they're pretty simple.
I'd like to be aquatic.
And then we have the last group, the chordates, Phylum Chordata.
Is that where we are?
Yeah. So the defining characteristic of the chordates are they have a notochord, and a notochord is basically a rod of cartilage extending the length of the body. Okay. They have a dorsal, which means backside, nerve cord, which we would now call the spinal cord. And the vast majority are vertebrates, although there are some invertebrate, meaning no backbone, chordates. Things like a sea squirt, a tunicate, a lancelet. These are these tiny. This is a sea squirt, like a sea cucumber, a lancelet. These are still chordates. They have a dorsal nerve cord in them, okay, but they have no backbone.
So they just kind of like bend?
Yeah, I mean they have cartilage that still gives them some structure to their body. But most of these chordates are vertebrates, about 96%, which are what we call animals with the backbone, vertebrates. And the vertebrate classes, as you know, are fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Defining characteristics: fish. They are cold-blooded, with external fertilization, external development, they have gills, body covered in scales.
Nemo.
Amphibians,
Wait, what's behind that?
mammals, have smooth skin. They spend a portion of their life in the water. They need to return to the water for reproduction because they have external fertilization as well and external development. Well, they have lungs. Okay, they're also cold-blooded. Then we have reptiles. Reptiles, also cold-blooded. However, reptiles evolved to have internal fertilization, which allows them to reproduce outside of the water, so they do not need to be in the water for reproduction. They have internal fertilization, and mostly then they lay eggs where the young develop in the eggs externally. Birds, warm-blooded with feathers, internal fertilization, but again, external development. The young develop in the egg outside of the bird's body. And then finally the mammals, which generally have internal fertilization, internal development, warm-blooded for at some point. There are various groups. There's marsupials, and then there's the placental mammals, which have a little bit different types of development, but they are mammals. And that's our overview of the various kingdoms and phyla and class. Sophia.
This has to do with like the vertebrate subject. So in Logan, we watched a movie, and this guy died because they bent him so far back that his back broke.
Yeah.
Did that actually happen? Like you
Could. I mean, you could sever your spinal cord, and yeah. All right.
I mean,
Why did you put